episode of Timeout with Derek and Joe. For Joe Azalina, I am Derek Cano. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us. Today, Joe, we continue our top five list. Around the bend we go to third base.
Yep. Affectionately known as the hot corner. I always enjoyed third base. That was one of my positions growing up, so I really like to play third base. You need to have really good reflexes, and you have to have a pretty strong arm thrown across the major league diamond. So I will say my guys all have that in common, and of course, power and a good average. They don't hurt. So we're gonna delve into this. And Derek, we brought back our friend the Wheel for this episode, so that excites me.
And I just told you off air, but I'll say on here as well, third base was actually very interesting to create the top five list, because when you look at like catcher, it's one guy, you know who it's going to be. When you look at first base, it's pretty much Freddie Freeman. That's who's number one. Second base is DJ LeMahieu. Not a lot of intrigue as far as who we're picking, but third base has 4, 5, maybe 6 legitimate guys who you could make a case for to pick first. I think we're kind of around the same group, but there wouldn't be, much of a hoopla if you picked one of like 4 or 5 guys. So let's start it off as Joe mentioned, and we'll move us down here. Normal thing, everybody. We have our chart here, and we're also going to be doing the wheel again. So we hope you're interested. If this is boring or you have any other ways for us to present this stuff, feel free to throw some suggestions out there. We're trying to keep things a little fresh and interesting. So the normal hitting chart, you have the ages, the teams. Top 3 in each category are in yellow. Stats represented in 2019 and 2020, and the legend is over here. Let's spin the wheel. Oh, don't mind this ad for t-shirts. That might be a little spoiler, but our first one here is Josh Donaldson. And Joe, you want to, I know Josh Donaldson is actually on your list, not on my list, actually.
So Josh Donaldson actually comes on as number 8. So that's interesting. The wheel gives me him right away. I put down that he's a former AL American League most valuable player. He was a former A, Blue Jay, Twin, and Brave, and now he calls the Minnesota Twins his home. He's just a masher. That's what I think of when I think of Josh Donaldson. The guy just hits long home runs. He hits for a lot of power. Looking at the graphic, he's 35 years old, 761 plate appearances. His strikeout percentage is a little bit high. Actually, it is second highest, if I'm correct. Yeah.
Close, yeah. Pretty high.
And his K percentage is pretty high. He really is one of those guys, though, that's going to drive in runs. He's going to be the RBI guy. He was a huge, huge part of that Atlanta Braves offense a couple years ago. He's average defensively. He didn't win a Gold Glove in his career yet, but he's still a decent defender. His WAR is even okay at 5.8. I like him a lot. I put him at 8. I know you don't have him on your list, Eric. Why did you leave him off your list?
Just barely off, and maybe it's more for the age that it's not someone who I immediately go to in this season. This is who I want, but you're right. He's going to be right in there in the middle of that Twins lineup.
So no,
I think he was at his peak, obviously 2015, 2016. So he did just have 6 homers and 11 RBIs, only hit 222. Then again, he only played 28 games last year. So you see the 183 as far as games played. That's only because he was a little short this year. He does get on base, though. You said that, and he has one of the best on base percentages on our chart here. 378. but he is one of the biggest mashers, that's for sure. Doesn't hit for as good of an average. He might be one of the lower on here as far as average, but um, can't go wrong with Josh Donaldson. He's probably good. I probably would have had him as another honorable mention if I had one or two more, but didn't quite hit my list as far as going into this season. Um, Spinning the wheel again for our next player will be Rafael Devers, who has really been the main cog in the one of the main cogs in the Boston lineup for the last few years. Still only 24 years old. Um, Signed only through the rest of this year. I know, well, no, that's not true. Arbitration eligible in 2022. So really 2024 is the next time he's up. But Joe, it was really 2019. He was 32 homers and 115 RBIs. Finished 12th in the MVP voting. I end up having Rafael Devers. He's my first honor, or he's one of my honorable mentions, mainly because I guess the rest of these guys have done it for a little longer. He's still only 24 years old, but he's only going to move up that list. That's for sure.
Yeah, I have him actually at number 4. He's got a lot of power for he's not big for fans that don't know Devers. He's small. He's not big in stature at all. He's got a very, very compact stance. He's very like bent over. He's a good defensive player, but he's in a good lineup with Xander Bogaerts, JD Martinez, and Alex Verdugo. Devers, I mean, in these 2 years that we look at here, he almost has 1,000 plate appearances. He leads these players. Yeah, 950. That's a lot. I didn't know that. Just even skimming through the other day, I didn't really notice that. But wow, 70 doubles, leads it again. 161 runs scored.
First.
Yeah, and 158 RBI. I mean, this guy can hit. Yeah, he can hit, and you know, he's a big part of this Boston team. If I'm Chaim Bloom, I'm not trading him. I don't care what they get offered. You got to keep him. He's a big part going forward, and I'm a big Rafael Devers fan.
Yeah, and you could see it. He's probably going to be one of the main focuses for them moving forward to go along with the Bogarts maybe and the rest of the lineup that was brought in. But yes, only moving up that lineup, I'm sure, or up the third base charts will be Rafael Devers. The next.
Is that
right on the line? So we're moving to actually Kyle Seager, who, of course, as a Mariners fan, he's near and dear to my heart. But he's definitely towards the downward end of his career is Kyle Seager, but couldn't quite find anyone to take on his contract. I'm sure he would have been someone who was dealt away along with most of the other players, but he played in all 60 games last year. Probably one of the few in baseball who was able to do that. Still hit you 40 RBIs, and you know what you're going to get out of Kyle Seager, and I'm sure you still will for the next 2 to 3 years. You're going to get basically 20 to 25 home run guy, 80 to 85 RBIs, and about a 250, 260 average. You know what you're getting out of Kyle Seager. He doesn't strike out a ton, not as less as some of those guys up top, but he walks. He does have that 1 Gold Glove. He's pretty good. He's a pretty good glove on the hot corner. So I would imagine you're going to see him traded this year, and it will probably be to someone missing a third baseman because he's not one who's really going to move around much. He's going to be a third baseman, Joe.
So that's interesting you said that, because I look at Washington, who's looking for Carter Kieboom to step up. If he doesn't, it makes sense there. The New York Mets are trying to sign Maikel Franco. They have a third base need. You also have to look at teams like these like the Cubs, if they stay in the race, you wonder if they try to move and get him because Chris Bryant could be on the move. There's a lot of different options that Seager could go to. I look at him as a player though, and he's just a really, really good player. He's like you said, he's going to hit for a decent average. He'll play in a lot of games. He seems definitely durable. His brother is definitely the more talked about Seager and Corey. But Kyle can play and he is 33 now, which crazy to think about, right? I remember when he first came up. But just a solid player. I think solid's the one word to describe Kyle Seager.
Yeah, I see. He only ever was an all-star once. He's not, because he pretty much what you're getting from him, and they're not quite all-star numbers, but he's still a good clubhouse guy, but nowhere close to this list, I don't think. But still someone who should be grabbed by guys or teams that need a third baseman going into this next year. Spinning our wheel to the next person. By the way, he was not on either of our lists, I believe.
Oh boy.
The next guy we have is Alex Bregman, who is probably one of the guys who we could say could be anywhere from like 1 to 4. Do you want to start with you, Joe? Where do you have Alex Bregman?
Well, this one was really hard for me because I can't forget about the cheating scandal with Houston. We know he's a Houston Astros third baseman, but the more I read, the more I've watched him. You gotta love the game he plays. He is a really, really top-notch third baseman. He's number one. I got him at number one. He's only 26 years old. He's already won a World Series. That's one thing. He's constantly in games. I mean, 200 games and 870 plate appearances is nothing to sneeze about. You have 49 doubles, 47 home runs in 2 years. Also pretty good stats. Jumping over to the right column, I mean, he is all yellow over here. The walk percentage is really down. I mean, it's a little higher, I should say. Actually, it's higher. That's a good thing. The K percentage is down. That's what I meant. The K percentage is down. Right. Getting my letters confused. But he's like an on-base machine. He's a slugging machine. Like, Derek, he almost has a 10 WAR. Like, that's amazing. I think he went to the University of UCLA. I know he was very sought after. I wrote down that he's supremely talented. He's had some big home run numbers in his career. He's definitely an RBI guy, and he's big part of the Astros. And if I'm Houston management, they need to keep him for a long time. They need to build around Alex Bregman and just keep winning ball games because he's just that type of guy.
Well, he's signed through 2025, so they don't have a problem with that. He's around for a long time. No. 119 walks in 2019 he had. 119. And then he had 51 doubles actually in 2018. He's been in the top 5 in the MVP race. He wasn't last season. I mean, all of Houston was a little down last year. But second in the MVP race in 2019, 5th in 2018. It's not that I don't like him. I just like the other 2 guys that I have above him more. That's strictly the only reason. I mean, he's a great baseball player, someone who they're probably going to build around in Houston. 26 years old. You mentioned the on-base percentage is number 2 on our list. Slugging percentage is number 2 on our list. Best in terms of K percentage. He's a great all-around player. I just happen to like the other 2 better. I have him at number 3. So,
Derek, do you think him without Springer and the loss of Brantley, do you think it hurts him?
I'm sure it'll bump down his numbers a little bit. Maybe those walk percentages will go even higher because with even less guys to back him up,
Correa and Altuve are going to have huge years,
Right. It's going to be
right?
and they may
I
hit
mean,
above him regardless. He may be in the 3-4 slot and they might be higher. So,
true.
but great player,
Interesting
Alex Bregman.
storyline. Yep.
Spinning our wheel once again brings us to
Derek, where did you have Devers at?
honorable
I missed
mention.
it. Okay,
Honorable
7.
mention.
Okay, gotcha.
So our next one on the wheel is Anthony Rendon, who is another one who's right up top. Joe, where do you have Anthony Rendon at?
So the wheel is throwing me all kind of curveballs. They started with me at 8 and now going down to 2. And yeah, he's 2. He's number 2 for me. Listen, I got to see him a lot when he was in Washington. He's now an Angel. He's a heck of a hitter. He wasn't as good as he was in Washington to start his Angels career. He's a pretty good player defensively, and he's really good RBI guy. And he's with Mike Trout, Derek. That's all you need to know. He's with Mike Trout. So anybody with Mike Trout is going to have, they're going to get pitched to a little more. 228 hits, leads. Well, no, sorry. Third on the list, I guess. It looks like Donaldson, and we'll talk about the other guy in a little bit. 55 doubles is pretty good because he's not a fast guy. That's 4th on the list. I'll leave you some stats, but I just love the player. I almost didn't do this. I almost put him at 3, and everybody's going to question me why I put at 3. But I do have a reason. So we'll see if it's valid or not. Derek, where is Anthony Rendon on your list, even though I think I know where he is?
Not quite. He's actually number 2. I have him number 2 on my list.
That's what I thought.
But where did you say he was on yours?
He's 2.
He's number 2. Back when we had Mike on, I remember him talking about how Washington hasn't filled in the spot that Rendon left yet. And that would be because when he was there, 2017, 25 and 100 home RBIs, 24 and 92, 34 and 126 in 2019 when he left. The past 4 seasons, he's been in the top 11 in MVP voting. Anthony Rendon is just one of the best hitters in baseball. It pretty much can't be denied. That's why he received a 7-year, $245 million contract. So
not bad,
through the 2026 season, he's not going to be fun for the Mariners to face the next 7 years I guess 6 more years. 30 years old though, so he's on the higher end of people on this list, but that's not because my other guy isn't that much lower in terms of age, younger in terms of age. So, 311, he's averaging. On base percentage is number 1 with 413. Slugging percentage is number 1. He walks. He doesn't strike out. He's pretty much the epitome of a third baseman that you would want in this league is Anthony Rendon. So now that we throwed out already 2 of the top guys, let's move on to the lower part of the list now, where we will start with one Justin Turner. Joe, I know you don't have Justin Turner on your list, but he's someone who has been a key part of the Dodgers run here over the past few years to World Series title, and was someone who was kind of in limbo for a while this offseason, but finally the Dodgers brought him back once again.
Former Mets prospect, 36 years old, gets a lot of plate appearances. You said it. He's a big reason the Dodgers are where they are, and I'm happy for him that he went back there. His home runs, I guess, are a little lower compared to a lot of people on this list. But he's still a really good player. I just don't know if I could have bumped anybody off, if you will. That's kind of why I didn't put him on. But I do like him as a player. His on-base percentage is really good. If he had a Gold Glove, or if he got highlighted a little yellow in his name, I might have thrown him out there. But Derek, do you have him on your list?
No. So the only thing he's top 3 in is actually on base percentage, but um because he does walk in comparison. He doesn't play as many games as all these other guys, and you see that he only has 177 in the past 2 years. But even before that, he was around 120, 130 is the amount of games, because he's not a pure regular. Um, I believe he also played some second base. He plays some shortstop as well. Um, 2016, 17, and 18 is when he was really at his stride. That's when he was in the top 10 in MVP race, actually. Um, just someone who's definitely going to hit for average, and that's probably his strong point. You also see the 294 average that he has there. He's not going to strike out, which is something that first baseman and third baseman are going to do a lot of. Um, Not remotely close, I don't think, to the top guys on this list, but still a very solid piece for the LA Dodgers. And 36 years old. Obviously, he's probably towards the end of his career. He's signed through 2023, so 2-year deal. He signed $34 million. So I'm sure Justin Turner will be another someone who is going to help out the LA Dodgers towards another World Series again. Which will bring us to Eugenio Suarez. Did I say that name right? It sounded good coming out. So,
Yeah, that was
um,
good.
Eugenio Suarez, I will take, because he is actually, Joe, my last honorable mention.
That's what I thought it was.
Um, and now I don't think I don't know, honestly. I've never really seen him play defensively. I don't know how good he is defensively. He doesn't hit for average. 254 is one of the lowest on this list. He strikes out a lot. He's not fast. So you might wonder, well, why the hell is he on your list? Well, that is because you look at the numbers he is on: 64 home runs, which is 15 more than the second person on this list. One of the top 3 in plate appearances, and then he doesn't he plays 216 games, which is tied for first on amongst everyone on this list. Yeah, 189 strikeouts in 2019. That's a lot. But he is someone who is very streaky. There can be a 2-week stretch where he hits 10 to 12 home runs, but then there can be a 2-week stretch where he goes 2 for 50. So very streaky hitter. So I wonder if somehow he gets back to the norm and gets away from that. But I don't think he is. I think that's just who he is. He's a bomber, and he's someone for the Cincinnati Reds who's going to sit on that hot corner. They have him a 7-year deal signed through 2024, so he's going to be there for a while.
Yeah, he's come onto the scene the last couple of years. I've seen him play
Yeah.
some games. He's not terrible defensively. He's just like an average defender. He's not going to make the spectacular play, but he's also not going to have an error on an easy throw or any of that stuff. So he's pretty decent. Plate appearances, man, he almost got 900. That's pretty good. 64 home runs, like you said. I mean, he has some interesting stats. I don't really blame you for having him on the list. It's a really good underrated player. Again, I just didn't see the fit for me because I have guys that I don't want to take off the list. So, but Suarez, he needs to hit this year because they don't have a lot in Cincinnati. We said that during the NL Central preview. So he's got to bring the bat, as they say, Derek.
Yeah, and you wonder if he's one of the next guys to also leave, as they've been shipping out a lot in Cincinnati.
Wouldn't shock me.
Here's an interesting one that I wouldn't be shocked if he's first on someone's list. I wouldn't be shocked if he's off someone's list. But Jose Ramirez for the Cleveland Indians. Joe, we talked, for those that missed our AL Central preview, we talked about Jose Ramirez exclusively. How is he someone who can fill in for Francisco Lindor as the face of the Cleveland Indians? For our answer to that, go ahead and check out last episode. But Joe, you look at that 34 in terms of stolen bases. That's way above anyone else on this list. And maybe that's the strength of Jose Ramirez, is he's quick and he can give you, maybe even play multiple positions if absolutely needed, as opposed to these other guys. Is maybe that's the positive out of him?
Well, Jose Ramirez, remember, has had Carlos Santana and Francisco Lindor there for the last couple of years. And
Yeah.
I think he's going to hurt a little bit for not having those guys now. Well, we'll see. There's guys there that need to step up. We talked about it. Cesar Hernandez will help him, but how much? It'll be interesting. Ramirez is a 20 home run guy. He does strike out often. He will be pivotal, though, for this team going forward. And looking at his stats, geez Louise, I mean, again, he almost one shy of 50 doubles. He's tied with Alex Bregman for doubles. Hits, he's right there. He's third on the list. No, he's second on the list with hits. So that shows you something. What percentage?
That's Arenado.
Arenado's
at 231.
Well, yeah, okay. So he's
but he played significantly less games, and I think maybe he was injured in 2019. So
his average is even just right there, like at 267. Tied with Chris Bryant, and down from Justin Turner. Jose Ramirez is a really good left-handed hitter. And I think we might see the best of him if he does go somewhere else, because the Indians aren't really going to contend anytime soon. So,
yeah.
We I like him though, Derek.
Moved. I like him. So he is a switch hitter. He's one of the few on this list who's a switch hitter. But 2017 he finished third in MVP voting. 2018 he was third. Last year he was second. Last year I didn't even know that.
I didn't know that
he was second in the MVP voting last year.
That's how underrated he is.
So that makes sense. But probably someone. Yes, I do. Okay. And he is number 4. I have him number 4 on my list.
Gotcha.
And being 28 years old, I guess today or this year is really a key. Like, without those extra guys, is he still going to put up all those numbers, or is he going to fade to the background a little bit? So I'd be interested to see. Where'd you have him on your list, Joe?
I actually had him. I had him at number 7, right below Donaldson.
Number 7.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
And that'll bring us. The wheel tells us to talk about Nolan Arenado. Well,
there's a lot to talk about.
Nolan Arenado. Number 2 in terms of hits, 231. Number 2 in terms of home runs at 49. Number 3 in terms of RBIs at 144. Number 2 in terms of K average. Number 2 or 3 in terms of average, still hitting 300. 3 in terms of slugging percentage. But the reason why I have him number 1 on my list, Joe, as opposed to Anthony Rendon, who may have better offensive numbers,
Gold Gloves.
8 Gold Gloves. He is one of the best defensive players in all of baseball, and that can't be not looked at. He, being that he's anything hit to the left side towards the third baseman, of course, he's pretty much going to get and not throw an error on, and that's got to be something that has to be said.
All right, a couple things. First of all, I was kicking myself, like, just sitting there like, okay, you have Rendon, Bregman, and Arenado. How do I do this?
Yeah.
It was difficult. It was not easy, but I want to say this. They interviewed Matt Holliday on MLB Network. Now, Matt Holliday played a bunch of years in Colorado, but then went to St. Louis. Well, isn't it ironic that Arenado just played a bunch of years in Colorado and now he's going to St. Louis?
Yeah.
I think that was my thing. I'm not sold on him offensively to the point where did Denver really do something? Did Mile High Stadium or Coors Field? You know what I mean? That's the only thing. Listen, Mike Schmidt said on a Phillies broadcast last year that hands down, Nolan Arenado is the best third baseman that he's ever seen. Mike Schmidt has been around a long time. You're talking about a Hall of Famer and a guy that knows the game. This guy's the real deal. He's absolutely the real deal. And I want to say that Matt Holliday ended up saying them that Nolan Arenado will shock everybody and have a better career in St. Louis than he did in Colorado. I had to rewind it and watch it again and say, if he's right, Derek, we're looking at another third baseman in the Hall of Fame, and it won't even be close. He makes the great play. He makes the simple play. He drives in runs. He hits home runs. I love watching him play the game. He seems to be pretty humble of a guy. He doesn't seem to be very arrogant. St. Louis has got a steal here, I think. And I'm just excited to watch his career. And Scott Rowland, former Philly guy, went to St. Louis and won a World Series. Stay tuned, baseball people, because Nolan Arenado might bring a World Series to the St. Louis Cardinals.
And that was a very good point in the beginning. So we'll see if those numbers change at all from Colorado to St. Louis. But Joe, he's been in the league 8 seasons, 8 Gold Gloves.
It's amazing.
I think that says it all, right? Every year, he's the one.
He's the man.
Spin the wheel once again. Now a lot of these are probably lesser names. We'll start with Brian Anderson, who is someone I know you and your brother Mike actually really like, correct? Brian Anderson?
Yeah, I've got to watch a lot of him being in the National League East now, and he really hits well. He's a pretty good defensive player too, but 27 years old. Again, he's durable. He's going out there over almost 200 games in 2 years at 800 plate appearances. He's not really like a guy that's going to steal your bases, as it shows you. He only has 5, but 104 RBIs and 84 runs scored in 2 years is pretty darn good. The average should climb a little bit. Definitely not on my list, but I like the player a lot. I really do.
I think he's someone who's going to continuously be like a Kyle Seager for his career. You know what you're going to get out of him. He's going to be a solid run producer for the team in Miami for the next few years, and never going to probably be at the top 5 of the list, but he's always going to be a solid contributor over the next. So he's not a free agent until 2020.
Steady Eddie,
another guy,
like a Steady Eddie type of deal.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just very steady.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Let's keep spinning. And now we'll go to a Giovanni Urshela, who is another name who kind of just popped up in New York out of nowhere. He was never really a big contributor anywhere, but you look over the past 2 seasons, he had 132 games in 2019 and 43 in this past year. He's going to hit some homers. Probably averages around 20 home runs a season. Hits for a great average, and that's the one that you see him highlighted in, and that's a 310 average, which is second among all the players here. And again, not a great player, Joe, but someone you know what you're going to get out of.
Yeah, he really came on the scene like 2 years ago. I remember saying, "Oh man, who's going to play third base if it's not oh man, I lost his name. Who was their third baseman a few years ago? He's been in trade rumors.
Andujar?
Yes, thank you. So McGill Andujar was their guy. He was a young kid, but Urshela just said, "See ya." Like you're going to the bench, or they're going to trade you because this kid can hit, man. He's got a real good bat. I remember talking with Phil buddy of ours of the show, and I said to him, I thought that Urshela did a great job in the postseason, Derek. He did such a fantastic
Yes.
job of hitting the baseball. Yeah, he's going to climb up the list. I think in a couple years, he's going
You
to, if he
think?
can continue. Yeah, I do. I think he's going to, because his RBIs are at 104, and that's 2 seasons. I think he gets that even higher. I think the home runs climb a little. Remember, if Stanton and Judge stay healthy, he's hitting behind those guys. So he's going to
Yeah,
see more
maybe if he
pitches.
gets some key time, like he was still kind of, is he going to stay in the lineup or is he not? So maybe if he gets, he's the starting third baseman, then maybe he'll be able to get those legitimate numbers. We have
Good player.
4 players left here, all interesting in their own right, I would say. Let's start with one Chris Bryant, who has been trade rumors galore over the past season or two for the Chicago Cubs, Joe.
Yeah, Chris Bryant is so interesting. He came on the scene as a 22-year-old. They were worried about his time. They were worried about this, and the guy came up and just hit the baseball. One of Bryce Harper's best friends. They grew up together. I always tried to put that parallel together and bring him to Philly, but that hasn't happened as of now. 181 games played in 2 years, and again, almost 800 plate appearances. 40 doubles, 48 homers. It's like third on the list, and he's only one behind Arenado, which is impressive. 132 RBIs. I just like him. I just think he's a winning type. 2 Gold Gloves. I just think he's a winning type player. Or no, sorry, no Gold Gloves. But Derek, he's already a World Series winner, and he won a National League MVP. So I just like Chris Bryant. He's not on my list though.
Man, part of me wants to say, did we already see his peak? Because ever since he won
arguable.
the MVP in 2016, he's just slowly gone down and down and down. And obviously last year was just all-time low where he only hit 206, and that's where you see these skewed numbers a little bit, where he only hit 206, 4 home runs. I don't know. It should be interesting. He was an all-star in 2019, so maybe he can come back from that a little bit. And we talked about the Cubs in one of our earlier episodes, and maybe behind Baez and Rizzo and Bryant, they can make one final push for, which is weird to say considering he's 29 years old, but a lot of these guys are, he's only signed through 2021. They're all signed through 2021. So the Cubs could completely break up, and Chris Bryant could be one of them.
Like a boy band, Derek.
Exactly.
just see it.
Oh, what's going on here? My wheel is.
Oh no, it's freezing on you.
Oh, disappearing.
Oh no.
Let's just cheat and move down a little bit. There it goes.
Oh, there you go.
So we have Matt Chapman, Yoan Mancada, and Manny Machado are the only ones left. Let's start with Yoan Mancada, and we did just talk about him last week, Joe, in the AL Central preview. There has to be a reason why, right, that he is number 4 in terms of WAR, but I don't believe he's on either of our lists.
Well, you always say this, and I'm going to take a line from you. Show me more. He's not. I know he's only he's 25. I mean, he's not super young, but
yeah.
I mean, he does have a lot of plate appearances. Maybe I'm just waiting for the White Sox to really kick the door open. But his RBIs are impressive at a 103. The K percentage, not so impressive, though, at 28. No. Derek, I didn't really think about him, to be honest with you.
No, he kind of, I think he kind of faltered in this last year. So we'll see if and that's why his numbers are so low, because he was a pretty strong, very strong player in 2019. So I'm sure he's going to rebound a little bit. But yes, absolutely. To be on the top of this list, you have to do it consistently every year. And I haven't seen it consistently from him. if he can go back to that all-star caliber, he could be right up there on the list because he was a very top prospect and went for Boston. So we'll see if he can get back there. Two names left, Matt Chapman and Manny Machado. Let's start with Manny Machado, Joe. And he is, I believe, the last one on my list. Yeah, I don't have Matt Chapman. Manny Machado is a very interesting character, to say the least, as I'm sure you'll say. In Baltimore, he had some great seasons, 3 top 10 MVP votes. And in his second year here with the Padres is when he was third in MVP voting, and he was very good last year. Over 30 RBI or home runs a year. You go on the list here, he's number one, tied for number one in terms of games, number 2 in plate appearances, number 3 in home runs, steals some bases for you, has some gold gloves. Why don't you like him though, Joe?
Well, I like him. But I don't love the fact that he has some interesting ways of going about his business at times. In Baltimore, he was getting into fights. He would charge the mound a few times. He got in trouble. He got into fights with teammates. He's like a loose cannon. He's like reminds me of Trevor Bauer a little bit. We'll see that matchup a lot this year, by the way. But no, Manny Machado is an ultra talented player. And don't think for 1 second when the Phillies were courting him that I didn't want him, even though I wanted Harper more. Machado just has numbers beyond numbers. He's flashy, but he makes the easy play. I wrote down to a 28 years old, great defensive player, very good hitter. He's going to be a key to the Padres' future core. And what an awesome job by him. I will give him credit for this. That he didn't think about anything but how he could win in the next couple of years when he signed that deal and the mega deal. And something tells me Eric Hosmer wouldn't have came to San Diego if it wasn't for Manny Machado, or knowing that they were going to go get him. Now you got Tatis. It's going to be interesting, Derek, if he ever gets a World Series. Does he win an MVP? He's on my list at number 6, but I just don't feel that he should be any further than that with the guys and one more guy left.
And I have him not number 5, so pretty similar. And our last guy we're talking about here, as you saw on the wheel, is Matt Chapman, who is an interesting player who a lot of people may not know about in playing in Oakland, Joe. I know he's not on my list, so talk about why he's on your list as honorable mention.
Actually, no, I have him at number 5, so I have him right in the top 5. The reason I did that was because I liked what I saw of him in the postseason. You hear a lot about this Matt Chapman. The Mets were actually interested in him. The very good player for Oakland with Kana and Matt Olson, right? Yeah, that middle of the order. Chapman, though, strikes out a lot. That's against him. But he's a very good hitter, and he's a home run guy, Derek. Let's see here. Where is he? He's in the middle. No, he's number 3.
Right below the top 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look really closely, he's had 46 home runs in 2 seasons. That's about 20 a year, 22 a year, right? The RBIs are up at 115. Or do I have that right? Yeah, 116. Sorry. His walk percentage needs to probably be a little higher. I'd love it to get to over like 11 or 12. But his K percentage is, it's down. It's right there with Rendon and Arenado. The average is pretty high. Well, not pretty high. I should say it's on the lower end. He's just one of those guys that I feel like, and you got to sit there and say the 2 gold gloves, it makes a difference too. He's one of those guys that needs to be more consistent, but you got to feel for him too. He's in Oakland. Put him on the Rays. Put him in another team. Like, I'll tell you right now, I hate to say this, but if he's a Met, Whew, that would be something. That would be, your dad would be happy. Shout out to Charlie. Your dad would be happy.
Well, and that will do it for our top 5 current third baseman in Major League Baseball. Joe, do you want to run down your list real quick?
So number 8, I have Josh Donaldson of the Minnesota Twins. Number 7, I have Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Indians. Number 6, I have Manny Machado of the San Diego Padres. Number 5, I have Matt Chapman of the Oakland Athletics. Number 4, I have Rafael Devers of the Boston Red Sox. Number 3, I have Nolan Arenado of the St. Louis Cardinals. Number 2, Anthony Rendon of the Anaheim Angels. And number 1, I have Alex Bregman of the Houston Astros.
And we are relatively similar, but just a little changes here and there. Honorable mention, Eugenio Suarez for Cincinnati. Honorable mention, Rafael Devers for Boston. Number 5, Manny Machado, San Diego. Number 4, Jose Ramirez, Cleveland. Number 3, Alex Bregman, Houston. Number 2, Anthony Rendon, Los Angeles Angels. And number 1, Nolan Arenado, St. Louis. Joe, final thoughts before we get going for today.
Yep, it was a good third base show. For the baseball fans out there, we're not going to be talking too much baseball in our next 3 shows. That's right, fans. We're coming at you 3 times next week, so get ready. Derek and Joe will be here on the timeout 3 times. Monday, we're going to be doing a show. Thursday, we'll have a guest on doing a show. And on Friday, March Madness will be in the air, Derek. So I'm excited to watch basketball this weekend. Watch some basketball last night, and we were texting about some games. It's not stopping, Derek, and hopefully the COVID bug will not run rampant. I want to see basketball this year. I want to see the tournament go through. So hope everybody tunes into our show. And we might be wearing a little bit of a new apparel come Monday afternoon. Just throwing it out there. But Derek, good show as always.
So that was our top 5 third basemen in Major League Baseball. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube and subscribe on YouTube. Follow on all podcast platforms if you just want to listen, as well as on our Twitter and Facebook pages. And if you want to email us timeoutderekandjoe@gmail.com. As always, thank you very much, everyone, for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us. Everyone stay safe and take care.